Welcome to Living the Music, where we explore hidden lessons in classic songs. Today we're going to look at the whole issue of artistic bravery. We're going to look at several albums that artists have put out over the years that were brave artistic statements. They really kind of went against the trend of what was expected, and they just stuck to their guns and did what they wanted to do. They followed their artistic vision, and it worked out for them in various degrees, of course. But at the end of this video, we'll sort of tie it all together and think about how we can apply this lesson into our own endeavors. So thanks for being here. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider it. You just click a button, you're in. Of course, it's free. So we're going to start with Lennon and McCartney and their first two solo albums. John had done a couple experimental things, but his first real solo album was this one, Plastic Ono Band. This was released in 1970, and I think it is brave because it's raw, and it's stripped back rock. He's just got a three-piece of himself, Ringo on drums, Klaus Voormann on bass, and he's exploring some provocative themes, especially in a song like Working Class Hero and God. He's doing some raw, screaming vocals that are quite unlike anything he did in the Beatles. And there's not really a single on here. This isn't a pop album. So you got to give him credit. People were expecting Sgt. Pepper 2.0, and they didn't get it. But this set him up as an authentic artist in people's eyes, and he's still seen as that to this day. Now, his former bandmate Paul, he came out with an album also in 1970, and it was just called McCartney. It's a little bit different than John's. First of all, it's not as fully formed in terms of songwriting. He just made up songs some of the time. He did a lot of this at home, and he just built songs from one instrument to the next. He did play all the instruments on this, so that's impressive. There is a definite single candidate on here, his classic, Maybe I'm Amazed, but interestingly, he didn't release that as a single. He just wanted the album to stand as its own artistic statement. But anyway, as nice as this is, it's rather loose, and it's certainly not Abbey Road 2.0. So he might have disappointed some people, but again, he set himself up as, I'm unpredictable. Sometimes I'm going to give you the straight pop hits that you're used to, but sometimes I'm going to take left turns, and for the most part, his audience has come with him on the journey. Next, we're going to look at an album by Todd Rundgren. This came out in 1973. This is A Wizard or True Star. This is brave for him because in the previous year, he'd come out with a double album called Something Anything, which was quite a big hit. I think it was his biggest hit ever. It did go gold in the States. It had a top 5 hit with Hello, It's Me. He was really becoming sort of a brand in terms of writing pop gems, sort of easy listening pop gems. Well, for whatever reason, he decided he didn't want to be known as that, and he purposefully took a huge left turn and made this crazy album. This is quite psychedelic. It's got just lots of snippets of different songs that sort of run together. There are some fully formed songs, but they're strange, like Zen Archer, although that is very cool. He ends it with a classic called Just One Victory, but no singles on here. This didn't chart very well. His record company wasn't happy, but he stayed true to what he wanted to do, and he left the mainstream, and many would say he never really came back, but he's been happy with that, and he's still got a career going today. Next, let's talk about Rush, hard rock band from Canada. This 76 album was brave because This comes on the heels of 3 albums previous. Their first couple were sort of growing their brand and rising up the charts. Their third album went downhill. Their record company wasn't happy. They weren't really producing enough hits, if any. And they said, look, when you come back with this fourth album, it better be good, it better be commercial, or you guys are out. And Rush decided to make a sci-fi concept album. Wow, not exactly what their record company was asking for. In their mind, they said, we have to stay true to ourselves. We're going to do what we want. We're going to be adventurous. Now, we're going to do it as well as we possibly can. And we believe it's going to work out. And indeed it did. They stepped up their songwriting on this. The sci-fi suite on side 1 turned out to be a classic in the genre of progressive rock. And it stands the test of time today. This is my favorite Rush album. And they never looked back. And the record company never gave them shit again. Next, we'll talk about Tori Amos. This came out in 1996. This is her third album. Her first 2 had been rather good commercial sellers. They weren't really AM. She didn't have really AM hits, but the albums did well. She was an FM queen, really on the rise, provocative, but her songs were usually quite pretty and melodic. So with this album, she decided to take a lot of artistic chances. This is more bold in terms of lyrical content. The way she sings it is a little bit more in your face. The arrangements are more sort of all over the place. This is a more difficult listen, no doubt. And it didn't do as well commercially, but it did okay. But again, it set her up as a brave artist, and she stayed true to that. And finally, we're going to look at Wilco, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. This came out in 2001. Incredible indie album, classic in its genre, famous classic. But as the story goes, this was at a point in their career when their record company was getting a little uneasy with their sales, and they delivered this album apparently, or the recording of the album, and the record company denied it. They said, we can't put this out. So Wilco negotiated with them and got the tapes back, which was nice of the record company, you could say. And Wilco didn't know what they were going to do. They ended up releasing it for free on the internet, just to get it out there, really. And then another record company stepped in and bought it, and they released it formally, and it went on to do quite well. It's their biggest selling album ever. Not really a singles band in any way, although they write very very catchy songs, in my opinion. But the lyrical content's just it's not just simple "baby I love you" kind of stuff. He's going for more poetic, deep stuff, and the arrangements on here are quite experimental, and so it's not a pop album, but it's a tremendous adventurous album, and it's a great listen from start to finish. So all these artists stayed true to what they wanted to do, and it worked out for them. And I think you could come up with many other examples. In fact, I'd love to hear if you have another example that comes quickly to mind for you that you could put in the comments. Now let's think about being brave in our own lives. I'm sure there have been times for all of us when we have taken the road less traveled, so to speak, and made a bold, brave choice. Sometimes maybe it worked out. Sometimes maybe it didn't work out to our expectations. But I think we're proud that we made that move. Now, as we look to the future, maybe are we more hesitant? Are we more cautious and careful? Maybe as we get older, we're a little more reluctant to make these bold choices. Well, it's understandable, but it's something to look at here. And one brave move I know that I made was the separation from my wife. Now, at the time, it was kind of her idea to begin with, but I had long been not satisfied and had been saying, look, if we're not going to come together and make this work, let's move on. When she sort of got her mind around to it, I was then quite scared. And, we had kids at the time, 2 young boys. And I don't know, I just felt responsibility to them. And I felt this deep foreboding that I was a failure. I was failing at something that was important. And that was a tough pill to swallow. But, I'm so glad. I'm sure she's happier. I had to let go of that relationship, which just was not flourishing. It wasn't going to flourish, to open myself to a new relationship, which I've now had for over 10 years. And this is now the love relationship I always dreamed of. And I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity and followed through with letting go of what was for the sake of what could be. So in closing, I invite you to think about your life now and your vision for the future, and what move do you want to make, or moves that would be bold, that would be risky, that would be maybe not predictable, not what everyone expects, but damn it, for whatever reason, you feel called to take that action. And just kind of let yourself be with that. Just kind of be with how much it matters to you and allow your passion for it to grow. I invite you to allow your passion for this future to just keep growing and growing and growing like a raging fire. And when you're ready, or you know what, maybe even when you're not ready, you'll decide to make that move. And I have a feeling it's going to be a glorious journey, and it just might work out for you like it did for these incredible artists that we know and love. So there you have it. Please like this video if you do. If you do like it at all, please like it formally, and subscribe. Love to have you aboard as one of our sort of one of our community here, one of our team, and love to hear your comments about any of this. Let's be in dialogue. Look forward to it. Until then, take care.